And welcome to today's Hangout, June BIM 360. We will focus on BIM 360 field today, and this Hangout is brought to you by Applied Software's Construction Technology Group, the premier software systems integrator in North America. My name is Marcia Tucker, and I'm delighted to be your moderator today. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with us by typing in questions and comments using the questions pane, and you can see it displayed on our slide. Please take a moment to introduce yourself in the questions pane. We want to know who you are, where you're located, and anything interesting that you would like to share with us. Also, use this box to type in any questions that you may have throughout the presentation. We will take time to answer all questions at the end of the webinar today. Pardon me. This Hangout is being recorded and will be available to you on our YouTube channel. We'll also send you an email following the webinar with a link in the recording, excuse me. If you haven't already, search Applied Software on Facebook and Twitter. Connect with us to receive the latest information and special offers. Be sure to visit our website, asti.com, for information on services and support, products, training opportunities like CAD learning and live lab learning, and more. You'll also find a complete schedule of upcoming events, webinars, and training. We also provide visualization services, and that is something new that we're offering, so please feel free to reach out to us about any of your needs there if you don't have sufficient staff to provide that service. We do have some upcoming webinars. Visualize Your Potential is going to be held on Thursday, July the 13th from 12:30 to 1:30 at Eastern Daylight Time, and Revolutionize the Way You Work with BIM on Tuesday, July the 25th at 12:30. Then we have some upcoming events. The Miami event will be tonight at the Miami, Florida location from 5:30 to 8:30, Bottle and Bottega. That will be a launch party of our visualization services. We're going to have another party Thursday, July the 27th in Dallas, Texas at the Community Beer Company. Also, if you stay on the webinar and fill out the survey, we are providing you with a chance to win a $25 gift card. And now I would like to introduce you to Clinton Cook. Clinton graduated from Auburn University with a degree in the building construction industry. He previously worked for Turner, and we wooed him over to Applied. He maintains a broad industry knowledge of problem-solving ability and technical expertise. He currently works with our project teams here and helps to implement new field management software. One of Clinton's key contributions to Applied Software, he has been tapped and is a part of our development team, works with them and helping create custom solutions to real industry problems. So I'm going to turn it over to Clinton.
All right, thanks, Marcia.
Take it away, Clinton. Yes.
Okay, so today's BIM 360 Hangout is related to really the updates that have come out to BIM 360 field. We like to have these webinars periodically to kind of summarize the updates over the course of time to make sure that project teams are aware of them. Oftentimes when you're on a project, these updates may be pushed out and affect only the administrative portion, and you may not be aware of them because you didn't get notified. So we just want to make sure that everybody's aware of these. Hopefully you'll learn something today, and we can provide you a different workflow or something that you may not have been aware of. We haven't done one of these in about 6 months. So over the last 6 months, these are the primary significant improvements that have been made in the BIM 360 field software. Those improvements include Subcontractor Access. So they've basically empowered the subcontractor to now create their own issues, manage checklists and equipment without actually assigning a task and associating that task with a piece of equipment or a checklist. So this has been a huge enhancement, one that we've been looking for a long time. This came out probably 4 months ago. And I want to make sure that as you're gearing up for new projects that you're aware of it, or if you're currently on a project that you're aware that this capability exists. Again, this is one that I know a lot of people were waiting for and is pretty important to managing the workflow on your projects. They've also made significant improvements in the equipment module. our ability to customize statuses, create those dependent statuses. We can also customize our equipment categories and types as well. This one is a big improvement. It really provides a lot of flexibility when we talk about equipment. So in the past, the biggest challenge was we wanted to manage different types of equipment. Some of the workflows include people tracking rooms and those statuses inside of their equipment module, but they'd also want to track items such as their commissioning pieces of equipment, and oftentimes those shared the exact same statuses, and it didn't make a lot of sense to have the same status for a room as you would for a piece of equipment like an air handling unit. So now we have the ability to create dependent issue status sets that apply to only those categories. So we'll explain that in more detail a little bit later. We also have been given the ability to link issues to issues and link equipment to equipment. And we'll talk about kind of why this is important, some of the use cases for it, and what we can do with that now that we have that ability. And then lastly, we've been given the ability, now that we have this subcontractor role where subcontractors can now access checklists and equipment, they've also given us the ability to kind of narrow the companies down that are able to access each checklist and each piece of equipment. So we'll talk about the importance of this, how we can utilize this restriction ability to really effectively produce good workflows that really gives the people the ability to see only what they need to see and nothing more. So let's go ahead and jump right in with the subcontractor access portion of this. So again, subcontractor role improvements. We'll talk a little bit about this. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but as you're setting up a new job or the current job you're on, in order to utilize these subcontractor role enhancements, what they're calling the updated subcontractor experience. So you see it down here. We need to make sure that we enable this. So if you can see here, if you recognize this is the details page. This icon here on the project admin panel. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that our subcontractor experience is enabled. So again, if we'll click on this, what this does is it actually brings up a new role inside of our permissions module here on the back end. So you can see here, we've got in the enabled section, I've got a screenshot here that shows the subcontractor role here listed. Previously we didn't have that, so if this was disabled, again, you're not going to see anything here. It's important to note because this subcontractor role allows us to really narrow down what our subcontractors can do as far as accessing checklists and equipment, and also their ability to add issues. If we did not enable this, they would no longer be able to add issues, and we would go back to that legacy workflow. One of the things to note with this is that it's a little bit misleading because we have view, add, edit here, and then you also have the descriptions here, which are view, add, edit, can add and edit issues. There is some limitations to this because subcontractors are only able to add issues. Well, let's talk about their issue limitations. So the first one is they have 3 status options: draft, open, and work completed. This allows them to create an issue with any one of these statuses. They can create an issue in any issue type category. So they can assign this issue to a punch list, or they can assign it to safety. There's no ability for us to restrict what issue types they can assign it to. But the key here is this one right here, which is they can only assign to themselves and an account company. So if you look here, I have a lot more companies within this project, but CTG is the account company, and the company the subcontractor is the concrete subcontractor. They can only assign it to themselves or the account company. So this kind of this restriction is good in some ways. It's also can be a little bit detrimental to some project teams, especially as we're getting into more collaborative contracts like IPD, and we want to enable and empower our subcontractors to do more collaboratively together versus having a bottleneck for the account company to have to manage these issues. So I could argue this both ways, but this is going to be a limitation for the teams for this subcontractor role. So if you wanted to get around this and really enable everyone to, or enable your subcontractor to create any issue, you may want to look at assigning them to a different role, such as maybe an inspector, and then you could add that they could create any issue. They'd still have access to all this. And this has always been the workaround prior to the subcontractor access. So just keep that in mind. That's still an available option to us. So let's talk about the standard issue status workflows. So this was published by the development team on the forums, and I'm sure that Autodesk Marketing wasn't aware that they were creating infographics with Microsoft Word art, but needless to say, they did create this this workflow for us, and we're going to walk through it real quick just to make sure that everybody kind of understands. So this is the workflow that we're all used to with BIM 360 Field. The prime contractor creates the issue. We set the status as open. That's an indicator to our subcontractor that he needs to work on that issue. When he's completed it, he marks it work completed. That's an indicator to the prime contractor that they need to check that issue. If it passes, then it goes down here to closed, and we're done. We've resolved that issue. And then obviously if it fails, we go back through this loop again. We reopen it, and we allow that subcontractor another opportunity to complete that issue, ultimately closing that issue out. Now we've got, with this new subcontractor role, we've got a little bit different opportunity here. So painting subcontractor creates an issue for the drywall subcontractor, sets it as draft status. The prime contractor reviews the issue. We can open that issue, ultimately allowing the drywall sub to complete the work. And again, we go through this same process of closing the issue, and then if it's failed, we'll go back through this same workflow. The challenge with this is I think that this is a little misleading. Based on some of the comments and on my own research, the painter cannot assign to the drywall subcontractor. And if you read the details in the release notes, it also aligns with this. So the painting subcontractor, if you remember, can only assign an issue to either the prime contractor or the account owner or themselves. So what really would have to happen is the painting subcontractor would have to assign it in a draft status to the prime contractor, and the prime contractor would need to go through and assign it to the appropriate subcontractor in order to get this resolved. So this is going to be a little bit of a limitation for some teams. Again, it's a matter of educating your teams, letting them know what's important, and letting them know how you expect this workflow to work. But we do have the ability to allow our subcontractors to create their own issues and assign it to themselves. And I think that this alone is going to be a huge benefit, because hopefully they can manage their own issues within the software, and it'll just encourage them to adopt it more quickly. So continuing on with the subcontractor empowerment, they now can access and complete their own checklist. So here you can see kind of the web version. You know, it's very similar to what we see from a contractor's perspective. So if you're not used to going into the subcontractor's role, usually they're limited only to a few of these, but now they have access to everything if we enable the subcontractor role and permission them in that way. But they have the ability to add their own checklist, fill those out without assigning a task to them first. So this is a big benefit. They also have the ability to access equipment. So again, their equipment module looks just like ours, and we'll talk about this this ability for project admins to restrict access to certain categories. This will be important and give us some additional granularity as to who can access what. All right, the next thing we want to really touch on is the equipment customization improvements. So again, this goes into the ability to create custom categories, assign dependent statuses to those categories, and allow us to really make a much more flexible equipment module that we can work from. So let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit. You'll notice here we're on the project admin panel. We're in the equipment section, and you'll see where we're working is right here in the types category. So under types, we have the ability to establish our own categories. So again, we can add a category here. we can define a status set for the category. In this case, by default, the only status set available is a default status set. We can restrict use by company by just establishing this here for that category, and then we can create equipment types. So for this case, we've only got other. If we were a mechanical, our equipment type examples would be air handling unit, VAV, valves, whatever it is that we need to put in here. We can start to organize that and ultimately report on these items as needed. The next thing we can do is we can actually add in our statuses as well. So again, we talked about this, but for instance, the default status we have is specified, ordered, delivered, installed, pre-startup, startup, pre-functional, functional performance test, acceptance, and post-acceptance. These are all really good statuses for commissioning type workflows, but a lot of times what I see is project teams want to track other things like scaffolding, individual pieces of scaffolding. They want to track, I had one team want to track swing stages and making sure that an inspection was done on the swing stage every day before they started work. So they actually QR coded the swing stage, put that in the equipment module, and track the status of those swing stages in there. The advantage that this gives us is this gives us the ability to define a status set per category. So you can see there's another one here called room status set. So again, I'm not promoting this workflow, but I know that at Autodesk University every year it seems like someone has accomplished this and is doing a presentation on it. So you can see here that if I wanted to know the status of each room, they're going to be entirely different than the statuses that were performed for a commissioning workflow. And this allows me to kind of capture that information and start to really define the statuses specific to an equipment type. Prior to this was kind of a limitation that we had, but now we have the ability to really get in here and create this flexibility that we need. So this all kind of builds up. We've now got the ability to create individual categories, individual types within those categories, and set our issue statuses dependent on the equipment categories. We also have the ability to link equipment now. And where this becomes important is that we can actually go through here and link the equipment together where it makes sense. So in this case, I'm tracking a treatment room. The type is a patient treatment room. And you can see that I sorted these based on location path. So now I can quickly see that this item here, the treatment room, its status is framing complete. And this item here, which is a mini split air handling unit specific to this treatment room, has been specified, but I know that they're linked together because they both service the same room itself, right? So if I go through here, you'll see, just to kind of bring some more attention to it, you can see these two items here. But what I want to do is I want to be able to see these quickly together, see how they're related to each other, and we can do this through the linking process with equipment. So if we go select both of these items here, we can click on the link equipment. It'll say the link has been successfully made. And you can see kind of what this looks like. So I've opened up that treatment room that we were talking about. And if we go down, we can see that we've got this right here, right? That's our mini split unit that's associated with this project, or I'm sorry, with this, this room itself. And you'll notice it's a hyperlink. It also tells me what the status of this piece of equipment is here in brackets. So as the status changes, it also changes the name of this, letting me know where the status is. So in this case, we've got a treatment room where framing is complete, and this air handling unit has only been specified. This might be a problem. It could trigger an action from a superintendent to see what's going on with this. And all he would need to do was click in to this hyperlink here, and it would take him directly to that piece of equipment to see the status or update the status if he needed to. You can also see the same displayed here under related equipment. So now we've got the equipment associated with it, which is this air handling unit, and it's all hyperlinked, and I can work through this very quickly without having to go out, research, or filter by the room. I could just get it here. The challenge that comes with this from an administrative perspective is that someone's got to go through and actually link all of this equipment. It can only be done from the web at this time. So, someone has to sit down in front of it, link all the equipment together, and it's not, as long as you're putting your locations in, it's not exceptionally hard to do, but it is something that somebody's going to have to do and maintain. But it does give your field guys an incredible value in being able to have all this at their fingertips and not have to sort through everything to try to find what they're looking for or to find those related pieces of equipment. So this could be very valuable, but it's a trade-off on whether the administrative time to manage this is worthwhile in order to get this level of linking and relational data to the piece of equipment itself. So keep that in mind. But this is a pretty good enhancement, and I think it can be used fairly effectively if it's done properly. So let's talk about the next item, which is linking issues. So we have the ability to link issues to other issues. So in this case, the idea behind this is that we've got an issue called drywall damage. We've got it as issue type architectural, but it looks like this drywall was ripped out here to do some type of mold remediation or something, and we need to go back and repair this. So we know that we've got drywall damage. We know that it needs to be repaired. We also know that later we're going to have to come back and get the painter to come in and prime and paint this patch. We'll also have to get the millwork subcontractor to come in and trim out this corner, and then ultimately we're going to have to do the electrical trim work here to get this outlet reinstalled, faceplate back on it to finalize this work. So those are all linked tasks that need to be completed in some sequential order, and we've gotten one step further with this release to getting closer to that kind of linked order of issues, right? So if we go to our next screen here, we'll see that here are the issues. So we've got the electrical subcontractor assigned, the millwork has to add base, the drywall, the painter needs to paint the drywall, and then the drywall guy needs to repair the damaged drywall. So what we could do is once we've got them selected, we'll just go here, we'll link all these issues together. Now, similarly to what it did with the equipment, this now allows us to actually link and see the related issues, right? So now we can see the related issues and their status. So one thought that I have here is that because there's no trigger to indicate that when this one is complete, open this one, the one workflow that may work is to have these issues set in draft status, and as this one gets completed and we sign off on it, to simply click on the hyperlink and open each one of these in sequential order the way that they need to actually be repaired. So this isn't a perfect workflow, but it does give us the ability to relate these issues to each other. So you can see here, if I'm looking at this same item inside of the iPad, I've got related issues. I've got 3 items here, and you can see within these 3 items, here they are, and I can link to those items. Again, I think another limitation of this is going to be linking these from the web and not being able to link these in the field unless we use a linked issue template. So this is something that I haven't seen a lot of people using. It's relatively new. It's probably been out closer to 6 months, maybe even a little longer, but it's adding links to your actual templates themselves. So we know that anytime we create an issue template called patch drywall, we know it's assigned to the drywall subcontractor, and we know what type of issue it needs to go into. If we add a link to this, we can actually link a paint item there, and so that each one of these, when we create a patch drywall, it's automatically going to create a paint item and keep those items linked. So again, if we utilize this, this could be an effective way to do this from the iPad and have those links kind of auto-created for us. But this is something to explore to make this functionality of linking issues a little more usable moving forward. So let's talk about our last piece here, which is restricting access to checklists and equipment. So remember we've added in our checklist. We've empowered our subcontractors to be able to access that information. We've also done this with equipment. We do have the ability as project administrators to set the permissions for those individual checklists. So you can see here under the checklist section, we actually have this one right here set as visible to all users. If we were to click this drop down, it would show us a list of all the companies, and we can selectively choose which companies have access to the individual checklist. So if you wanted as an administrator to go through here and selectively add this, depending on how many checklists you had, this could take some relief off of the subcontractors and finding the right checklist by just giving them the access to the ones that they need and nothing else. But in order to do this from an administrative perspective, you'll need to go through each one of your checklists and actually specifically assign these to each company. So keep that in mind. And then the next part of this is individual equipment restrictions. So we talked about this, but if we only want our mechanical guys to have access to the mechanical categories, this is where we would restrict them under the company section. This also, because of this restriction ability, it also may affect how we establish our categories from the beginning. So if we know that we want to establish categories that are specific to companies, we may want to break these up depending on the scope of work so that we have categories which would fit for each one of the companies that we want to assign them to. So again, this has given us some additional permissioning features that we can use and leverage, hopefully to our advantage in the future, to kind of help ease the strain of too much data on our subcontractors or any one of our team members for that matter. So the next part of this is we kind of went through that pretty quick, but I think that's generally the updates that are going to be important to the project teams out there. There are more detailed release notes, and Autodesk has released a few more updates. Those updates are relatively minor compared to the ones that we shared today. Oftentimes their usability kind of feature maybe saves you one click here or there, but nothing major. But if you wanted to track these or read more about them, I really encourage you to go to the Autodesk forum, go to BIM 360, and then go to the BIM 360 field release notes. So go here and subscribe to this thread. So anytime the developers are putting out a release, sometimes they push those out to the home screen of field. Sometimes they don't. But if it's something small, they usually won't, but they will show it here, and they do a pretty good job of keeping this up to date. So if you're interested in this or you're an admin, I highly recommend going here and subscribing to this this forum. So it's important because not only do the features come out, but if you keep track of the comments, a lot of people will share their opinion on the release, and they also bring up valid points that you may not have thought of when you're trying to implement some of these releases into your workflow. So please go here and subscribe to the field release notes. This is really going to help you out and keep you up to date with these a little more often than we're able to get webinars out to try to educate you. So this is a good resource for you moving forward. With that, I just kind of want to conclude the webinar with answering any questions you may have, and I think Marsha can help us out with that.
Yes, thank you very much, Clinton. We have had several people share with us where they are from, and that is great. So one of the questions that has come in is, are they working on a way to import activities from a spreadsheet?
Activities from a spreadsheet. So you currently can import issues from a spreadsheet. You can also import tasks from a spreadsheet. So I'm not sure what activities specifically you're looking for, but if you wanted to, we could follow up with that a little bit later.
That, or maybe they can type in. We've had another question come in. They can expand on that
Okay.
while we address another question. Someone else would like to know is, can you restrict visibility of checklists and equipment types at the account admin level?
So that's a really good question. It's something that I would like to see the ability for you to do, but currently one of the limitations is that we have to, because the ability, let me see if I can navigate back to this screen here in 1 second. So because of the ability to only assign those restrictions to a company, so you can see here the permissions, we actually set this up at a company level. So because companies are specific to an individual project, we actually have to manage this at a company level. So even though we may have a global checklist, if they assigned the permissions based on role, then potentially you could do this. But right now, in its current state, you have to manage project by project, checklist by checklist.
Okay, ready? Well, we have another restrictive question. It says, can you restrict subcontractors to only create certain issue types?
Yeah, I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, but right now we don't have the ability to restrict those subcontractors to certain issue types. The issue types are, this is something that actually was brought up in one of the comments on the forums, was they would like the ability to be able to restrict this issue type, but right now that's not a function that we have control over as a project administrator.
Okay, all righty. If you have another question, if you will, please type that in pretty quickly, because as of right now, we are getting ready to conclude. So please visit our website, ASTI.com. We have got an incredible plethora of information there, lots of links for your information to get you to YouTubes and short vignettes. And if you're still on, we will be giving away, marketing will be reaching out to whoever wins the $25 gift card. So, but if you will complete that survey, we would appreciate it very much. We certainly appreciate you joining us today, and hopefully you found this informative. Thanks so much, and have a great day.